Alright, shalom, Israelites. Shalom, Israelites. It's Israel been Israel for the Israelite Brotherhood. Alright, Hebrews. You know, the Tanakh call us, the YAH's weapons of war. And, a lot of Israelites don't know, man, we've been on the battlefield for a long time, ever since we Exodus, the promised land. It was the Israelite army that exited the promised land and went into Egypt, into Africa. It was the army that went into Africa, so it's appropriate that Almighty Yah would call us his weapons of war. Because it was the Israelite army that went into Africa, and I'm kind of proud of you Israelites that have woke up, because you on the battlefield, and we've been on the battlefield for a long time, and we Israelites are going up against the whole world, because the whole world, man, they ain't been perceiving us as the Israelites. They ain't been looking at us as the Israelites, but we done fought with this title, and we've been holding on to it, and it's been a battle. And I want to congratulate all you Israelites that done woke up and that claim your heritage. And it's been a battle, and I understand that, and I know that, but you must know that the Israelite army went into Africa during the Babylonian War. So that's why we've been so courageous and fighting for our title. We going up against the whole world, I mean the whole earth. We going up against the whole earth in this perceived image of who the Israelites are. We know that Ashkenazi and Sephardi has been viewed as the Israelites for some thousands of years. So for us to come and, say that we the Israelites and then been showing it, man, it's been a battle. We going up against Christianity. We going up against Islam. We going up against all the religions, because all the religions has perceived the other people as being the Israelites and not the people from the transatlantic slave trade. So in the Tanakh, Almighty Yah got it right when he said that we're his weapons of war, his club of war, and how we would defeat the nations and break them down. We doing that now by claiming our Israelite heritage, and man, it's no other battle greater than that. World War I, World War II, and all the wars that they done had don't amount to you claiming your Israelite heritage and holding on to it and fighting with it. Fighting with knowledge, is more powerful than the nuclear bomb. We Israelites been on the battlefield for a long time, but guess what? It was the Israelite army that went into Africa during the Babylonian Wars. It was the army, and we continue in that fight when we claim our Israelite heritage. And I want to congratulate you Israelites for, waking up and holding on. You on the battlefield now, because don't nobody want to believe that we the Israelites, and they be trying to come with all kind of stuff to shake you from that and trying to defeat you with false knowledge. But you holding on, and you been fighting with that title. So, we are Yah's weapons of war. And I want to show you Israelites some of these verses. Alright, Israelites, yeah, man, we Yah's weapon of war. And we've been fighting a long time with this Israelite title. We've been fighting a long time with this Israelite title. But if you go to, if you Israelites will go to, let's see what verses that'll be, let me see, that'll be Jeremiah. Go to Jeremiah basically the 40s are 41, 42, and 43. You'll see that the Israelite army went into Africa and we was fighting the Babylonians, but the army didn't get defeated. The army took off and went into Africa, so we are descendants from that army that left the promised land to go into Africa. So it's appropriate for the Creator to call us his weapons of war. So if you go to Jeremiah Jeremiah 40, and then you go to verse 7, you'll see that it says, Now when all the captains of the forces which were in the field, even they and their men, heard that the king of Babylon had made Gedaliah the son of Achim governor in the land, and had committed unto him men, women, and children of the poor of the land, of them that were not carried away captive to Babylon. See, we're going to be descended from them. And guess what? This Israelite who had a Ammonite mother tried to take the Israelites off into Edom's heritage during the Babylonian wars. And the Israelite army came and saved them. And then we would go into Africa. And then even though it'd be that same army that disobeyed, the Creator, what I'm saying, through Prophet Jeremiah, but that nevertheless the army went into Africa. Look, when you get down to 41, 11, this is in the book of Jeremiah. But when Johan the son of Ker and all the captains of the forces that were with him heard of all the evil that Ishmael the son of Nathaniel had done, then they took all the men and went to fight with Ishmael the son of Nathaniel, and found him by the great waters that were in Gabon. Now it come to pass that when all the people which were with Ishmael saw Johan the son of Ker and all the captains of the forces that they were with him, then they were glad. So all the people that Ishmael had carried away captive from Mesbah cast about and returned and went unto Johan the son of Ker. That's the Israelite army. But Ishmael the son of Nathaniel escaped from Johan with 8 men and went to the Ammonites. Then took Johan the son of Ker and all the captains of the forces that were with him, and all the remain of the people whom he had recovered from Ishmael the son of Nathaniel from Mizpah. After that he had slain Gedaliah the son of Achim. That's who the Babylonians put in charge of us during the Babylonian wars when they conquered the land. They tried, they made him governor, but the Israelite army killed him. Even mighty men of war, and the women and the children in the Enoch, whom he had brought again to Gabon, and they departed and dwelt in the habitat of Chimham, which is by Bethlehem, to go to enter into Egypt, because of the Chaldeans, for they were afraid of them, because of Ishmael the son of Nathaniel had slain Gedaliah the son of Achim, whom the king of Babylon made governor in the land. So the Israelites killed that dude who the Babylonians put over us, and then Ishmael would try to take the Israelites into the enemy's land, Ammon and Edom, but the Israelite army caught up with them and freed the people, and then we would go into Egypt, into Africa, and we would be enslaved from there. We would be enslaved from there. Look, when you get over here to Jeremiah 42, then Johan, the son of Ker, and all the captains of the forces, which were with him, and all the men and all the people from the least even unto the greatest. That's when we told Prophet Jeremiah that we wasn't going to do what the Creator said, the Israelite army, and then we would go, into Africa. But if you look, if you look at Jeremiah 51, and this is going towards the end when it was already a done deal. It was already a done deal, and then you'll see that it says it was a done deal with us being sealed with our faith and going into captivity. But Almighty Yah referred to us as his weapons of war. Look, you are my war club, my weapon of battle. With you, I will club nations. With you, I will destroy kingdoms. With you, I club horse and rider. With you, I club chariot and driver. With you, I club men and women. And with you, I club graybeard and boy. And with you, I club youth and maiden. With you, I club shepherd and flocks. And with you, I club plowmen and team. With you, I club governors and perfect. You know what I'm saying? So, look over here in the King James Version. Look, the portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. The Elohim of hosts is his name. Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war. For with thee will I break in pieces the nations, and with thee will I destroy kingdoms, and with thee will I break in pieces the horse and his rider. With thee will I break in pieces the chariot and its rider. With thee will I break in pieces men and women, and with thee will I break in pieces old and young, and with thee will I break in pieces the young man and the maiden, and I will also break in pieces with thee the shepherd and his flock, and with thee will I break in pieces the husband and his yoke of oxen, and with thee will I break in pieces captains and rulers. So, it was the Israelite army that went into Africa. That's why we so courageous and we so strong. It is that, it's in us to fight back. It's in us to fight back because we's Yah's army. We are Yah's army, and it was the Israelite army that went into Africa during the Babylonian War. So we still Almighty Yah's weapon of war. And then it was said in Micah, in the book of Micah, before Jeremiah was even wrote. If you go to Micah, that'll be chapter 4, and then you get down to verse 11. Then it says, indeed, many nations have assembled against you. Just like now, many nations and everybody is against us Israelites, and we claiming our heritage. Don't nobody want to see us as the Israelites. They only want to see us as Negroes, blacks, African American, colors, and titles that they put on us. But when we claim our Israelite heritage, we on the battlefield. We on the battlefield again, and we back as Yah's army because we fighting up under Almighty Yah's title. We are his people. Look, indeed, many nations have assembled against you, who think, let our eyes obscenely gaze on Zion. But they do not know the design of the Elohim. They do not divine his intent. He has gathered them that cut grain to the threshing floor. Up and thresh, fair Zion, for I will give you horns of iron and provide you with hooves of bronze. And ye will crush the many peoples. Ye will devote their riches to the Elohim, their wealth to the Elohim of all the earth. So that's what we gonna do in the end when we get in the promised land and deal with Edom. You know, we're going to consecrate everything to Almighty Yah. Our whole gain and everything going to be dedicated to Almighty Yah for saving us. But we're Yah's weapons of war. You know, it was the Israelite army that went into Africa. So the Tanakh is right on time. It's right on time. In those verses or that history wasn't even written together. It was written at different times. That's like the book of Micah was written during prophet Isaiah's time. That's like almost 200 years from when the book of Jeremiah was wrote, saying that we was Yah's weapons of war. You know, we are Almighty Yah's weapons of war. And Almighty Yah describe us as his flock. So, you know, a sheep, man, is kind of like defenseless. Man, the sheep is kind of like defenseless. But Almighty Yah said in the book of Micah that he gonna give us some horns and some iron horns and some feet of brass. You know, so the sheep gonna be able to fight back. And that's what you doing when you claim your Israelite heritage. I'm proud of all the Israelites, man, that claim their heritage. You might not know the exact history of how things went, but for you standing up to claim your Israelite heritage, you're courageous and you're brave and you're strong. You see, ain't nobody else, man. The vast majority of our people still sleep. So just imagine, out of all these millions of Israelites, that you done took the courage to go up against the whole world to claim your Israelite heritage. You know, so that showed that you are descended from those Israelites, that army that went into Africa when you claim your Israelite heritage. Yes indeed. Yes indeed. So we see what Micah say, and then we know what Jeremiah say. You are my club, my weapons of battle. So, you know, when we claim our Israelite heritage, we going up against the whole religious system. We going against the whole world in their preconceived ideology on who the Israelites is. You know, even though we ain't been having no unity, we ain't been having no wealth or nothing to do this with, and then how it's just been in you, man, to do this, you know, to stand up and fight. And then that's what we Israelites doing. And that's why come your Yah's weapons of war, is because you are brave enough to stand up against the system and the ideologies that the system hold, that say who the Israelites is. You know, right now, Ashkenazi and Sephardi are perceived as the Israelites, and they got all the wealth and power. So just imagine you going up against that system. You going up against folks that say, no, you're not the Israelites. You going up against millions of folks that think like that. You going up against the religions. You going up against Christianity. You going up against Islam. You going up against all Judaism. You going up against all the religions, because all the religions perceive Ashkenazi and Sephardi as the children of Israel. So you are Yah's weapons of war. And I want to congratulate you, Israelites, for standing up. Like I say, you brave. You're brave because this is a hard task. This task is not easy. It's one of the most difficultest tasks on the whole face of this earth, is to claim your Israelite heritage and stick to it, you know, because we know that other people try to persuade you and try to convince you that you're not the children of Israel. You know, you going up against DNA, the DNA doctrine. You going up against that false history that they done created about us, saying that we some West Africans and all kind of stuff, man, that they done pulled out to try to convince you that you're not the Israelites, but you've been staying strong. See, you y'all's weapons of war. And when it come time for us to do what we gotta do, that Almighty Yah want people like you uh, uh, in his army and on his side, is because you're courageous and you standing up, men, against all odds. You going against the whole world. The whole world's preconceived thoughts on who the Israelites is. But man, it's like a drop in the ocean, man. Man, that you going up against tidal waves, man. You going up against the strongest weapon, men, on the face of this earth that them folks got, and that how you facing it courageously. So I want to tip my hat to you Israelites that's standing up, and there's nothing like you. There's nobody like you. And I just prove that we are descended from the army that went into Africa during the Babylonian Wars. Shalom, Israelites, and keep standing strong. Keep standing strong. Don't let nobody defeat you. Our enemies can't defeat you. And you not going to be Yah's weapon of war is if you get defeated and somebody convince you that you're not the Israelites, which I know that's impossible, because when you get on track, it's almost impossible, men, to come off this track. But you got some weak Israelites that fall to the side, and man, they weak, and they ain't strength, and they can't be in Yah's army. But we that hold fast to our Israelite title and heritage and ideology and claim our history, the Tanakh, we are Yah's weapons of war. Shalom to the Israelite community.